Hey guys, welcome to episode number 42 of 10-Minute Kick-Ass Coaching, brand new week starting out on Monday. Appreciate you being here as always. Today we're going to talk about the importance of a database. What does a database mean to you, and what does a database mean to some of your people involved in your own company? Well, database is your business. It's really your book of business when it comes down to it. One of the things that's really crucial is making sure that everybody really understands who you're going to be identifying with, who you're going to be marketing to, who you're going to be selling to, who you're going to be working with. So that's vital in any business. So let's just say we'll use an example of your sales force. You have a sales force that goes out in the field that works with different customers, different people. They have to have a database they can what is referred to as mine. And having a database that you can mine is a database that you can work with over and over again, keep information about a particular client, keep even information like their birthday, their child's birthday, just simple things like that give you the opportunity to really market and really focus in on what they have and what they need, and a way to really create engagement when it comes to working with them. Engagement is everything, and without a great database, you're not ever going to have that engagement between two people managed correctly. A database is so vitally important to work. Here's an example of it. I have a database for the restoration business that I'm involved with in New York City. And when I first went to New York, it's the story that I say over and over again. But if you haven't actually watched me before to talk about it, I'll tell you real quick the importance of a database. And even the importance of a bad database, because it does make a difference. So I moved to, this is even before I moved to Staten Island. I was still living in Long Island in Nassau County, right on the border of Queens, New York. And we had started the business and purchased the territory for Staten Island. Staten Island is a pretty good clip away from where I lived, just because of traffic, not because it's a lot of miles. I think it's 22, 23 miles. It's a good little drive, but that little 22, 23 miles takes you an hour and a half to get to. So it's a big jump, and when you're an emergency service business, it creates some challenges because that's where you're coming from in order to service the client. So having that database was vital. What I did was I bought something, not a great database, kind of outdated, no pun intended, of a base from a very popular company, and I bought maybe about 300 names, 400 names for the area, and the population there in Staten Island was about 500,000 people. So what I did was I found out who had a business there. I wasn't familiar with it. Again, I'm not from New York. I know a highway went through it, so Staten Island Expressway drove through, and I knew that I had to find a way to get in and off those expressways and parkways to find a way to do it. So I went down there and I met with some people, found some people. Most people I couldn't get in touch with. They were out in the field, so it was a slow process at best. Just happened to run into them, catch them when they're at their office. You're catching their staff in the office, and a little less receptive when it came to, quote unquote, selling something to them or trying to market your services to them. But I wasn't deterred. I went and I mined that database as much as I could, made notes about who was there, who still was in business, even sometimes who was still alive. The database might have been that outdated where some of the people weren't even with us anymore, and I had to figure out who they were, what they were, and if they were still active in the business, and where they were, and if they had employees, technicians, if they had opportunity, if they're what they call one-truck wonders, where they go out there and they just really work by themselves, and there's nothing wrong with that. I have some of my best referral parties are just that, one-truck guys, but the referrals when they come from them are actually of high quality. So that gave me something to work with, and I kept people on the database. If you had told me, hey, I'm ready to 2 or 3 years. I'm ready to cave in. I'm ready to just not market this person anymore. I can't get them. They're not interested. They don't find any time for me. They don't find anything. That would be your mistake, because I could tell you 3.5 years later, I have people that are now calling me or have just called me for the first time after all that time, and I actually questioned a bunch of them and said, hey, just out of curiosity. I appreciate the opportunity. I just was wondering why it took you, 2.5, 3 years, 3.5 years in some regard to use our services. And they had said I had to see if you were around long enough to be worth referring. That's a big impact right there. They didn't want to refer me right off the bat. They wanted to see if I played the time game correctly, that I stayed around, we were able to stay successful, we were stay in the business, and they weren't going to refer me before that point. They just said, now's the time. They've been around long enough. They're continuing to market to me 3.5 years later. and I'm finally given the opportunity. Now some of those folks have referred us multiple times since that start we had to be in the year with the deep freeze. So it was just time and opportunity, but time and making sure I maintain that relationship with the database, not knowing who's going to refer, who's not going to refer. It was life transforming. I never thought I'd actually hear from these people, but I never took them off the base. Now, if somebody said to me, listen, take me off, I don't want you visiting my place, I don't want you dealing with me, I have my people, I have this, I have whatever the case it was, I respected that. And I says, no problem, I will not bother you. If you change your mind or something opens up or that person gets overwhelmed with something down the road, feel free to give me a call, and we'll try and help you out the best we can. In our system, the people that refer us the most consistent over time get the top priority like anybody, and then we move down the ladder, we move down the chain to see, who is the best fit for the company, who is the best fit for being able to a point of ascension of referrals. So we have people that refer us all the time. They get the top priority. And those that go down lower is a different story. But if you've been with us the longest, we give you top priority. Now, we try to handle everybody. I mean, that's just good business and good common sense. But when you get a lot of deep freezes, everybody comes out. Everybody calls you. And then you realize who's been calling you all year round to keep you and your company and your technicians very busy and who has not. So that's just one example of a database and the power of it. You never want to give up. You never want to let those people off your list. I learned this from Rory Fatt years and years ago. He was asked, I think by Bill Glazer at the time, what do you do as far as maintaining a database, and when do you remove somebody from database? And he says, when they say, ouch, and that's it, don't bother me anymore. He goes, but they got to really tell me some nasty things to say, get off my database, or of course remove themselves from the email list. He says, because nobody ever gets removed. I have people that have called me 5 years later and used my services for something, or hired me for something, or bought or purchased one of my products. So you shouldn't ever just take them off the list. You may not want to market to them as heavily as you would your bigger, more lucrative prospects, your more lucrative joint venture partners, whatever the case is. You want to make sure to monitor that, and you can monitor that through a database. You put the information in the computer. Every single person I work with in a database, whether it's in the coaching, and I really don't have to maintain much of a database. Thank God a lot of the work just comes to me, and they contact me through a phone call, through a private message, through just regular Facebook, and say, hey, I want to work with you, and then I figure out if I can fulfill the obligations with them, if I can fill and maintain what needs to get done, and I can do the product or do the service that they're asking me to do. And if I can fit all those things, it's great. But I don't really need to maintain much of a database because the work comes in pretty consistently. I do work for one person, and usually they seem to be so impressed that they want to hire me for just about everything they possibly can, especially within the service-based realm. So if I'm working with you or training your technicians or training them on something or training them how to deal with people, different obstacles, I'm a big over-deliver kind of guy. With both businesses, I'm a big over-deliver kind of guy, so it's very, very important to make sure that's taken care of. Now, going back to the database, I don't have to do it. But in our restoration business, I want to make sure, hey, this person told me this day, we did this, very happy with this technician was great. All those notes go in there. We contact them whether we get the job or we don't get the job. Of course, if we get the job, we have a referral incentive for them, which is great, and they've earned it. They've stuck their neck out for us, and we have a choice of where we're going to compensate somebody for in those, and we choose to compensate them through a referral reward system based on getting the job. If we get the job, you get paid very, very well. If you don't get the job, well, unfortunately, we can't. But if we do, we do, and you do your part, we do our part, and 94% of the jobs we close, so it's one of the highest in the industry for what we're doing when it comes to closing. But we train and mentor our referral partners very, very well. And the importance of knowing where we're at with that training, with what we're doing, what we're saying, is maintain a database. Make sure you maintain information on that client. Make sure you maintain who's who, what's happened, what's transpired, who referred it, did it work out, was there a problem with the customer. All of that information needs to be maintained in your database so you know. Nothing cruel, nothing ridiculous, nothing stupid or petty. You don't need any of that in there. What you need is real-world information that you can apply into that database. Things that really affect day-to-day what you're going to do. Was the Did the check come in last time? Did the check was the check sent out, or somebody said a check was sent at a different time? We find out a pattern that checks really weren't sent out when they were supposed to be. From a standpoint of a company that's working with us, it could be a vendor that's hired us to do a job, and we find a pattern of things haven't exactly happened correctly. Well, then we know by looking at our database what's been done, what's happened, what hasn't happened, so forth and so on. So a database is crucial. A database just is the framework of your business. I like to think of it as a window frame. I just got finished doing a job where part of it was I had to vacuum and seal out areas around a window, and the windows were actually set in. So the windows were set in, and you had this wall on both sides and up on top to get into the window. And the window is what I call the database, because everything kind of falls. The furthest point down is that database is the window. When you go and you clean the window, you know you're cleaning your database. When you look at the imperfections on the window, you know you're looking at the imperfections in your database. So look at what really works for you. Make sure you maintain it. That's key. And if you're just not getting where with somebody, maybe you need to try a little bit of a different marketing effort, or maybe they're not right for your list. I had a customer, and I think everybody that's ever done this found out that they do the work themselves, and I don't know why they kept us on just to bring free stuff to them all the time and come out there and drop up supplies and promotional items out to them. But finally one day, one of the owners says, "I don't know why you're doing this. Great, I appreciate it, but I do this line of work." And the person in the office, was shaking their head, didn't know what to say. They got caught because after 2 years of going there visiting them, they're already doing this work themselves, or they have somebody else that's doing it for them. So it was all for naught. Now, you never know. I've had people that have gotten into this type of business, the restoration business, and gotten right back out when they realized all the difficulties it is. And there are a ton of difficulties, including you are now the bank and you're floating the money. But people don't understand that. So in my database, I'd want to make sure that I note that that person tries to do their own cleanups themselves. Maybe they're the right fit. Maybe they're very successful at it. Maybe they're not. But we give them time and see if that is a good fit for them. And if they end up staying in the business, obviously they're not going to be a customer of ours. But if we think they're just trying it temporarily and they're going to come back, and then at that point, believe it or not, have more of an appreciation for what we do and the sense of urgency that we got to have. And all of the analytics and all the basically analytical stuff that goes along with it, and they find out very quickly that sometimes it's much better to get a referral award directly from us, and that's taken care of. So understanding, and maintaining your database is very, very important in your business. It is the framework of your business. It's what builds the frame around there. You have your framework around it and your glass. On that glass is your database. And just like on the glass, you don't want to push too hard. If you push too hard on the glass, you'll break the glass. So you want to make sure you maintain what's on that glass, that window, that framework, delicately, correctly, promptly, and with real-world information that helps you and your company and your people and your sales staff every single day. Guys, thanks so much. I appreciate having you here for episode number 42 of 10-Minute Kick-Ass Coaching. Today we talked the importance of a database, why you need one, why you need to maintain one, what are just some of the simple reasons of why a database is vital to the growth of your business, is vital to the framework, as I'll talk about, of the business. All right, guys, have a great day. I really appreciate you being here. Thanks so much. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.